Hello everybody, D'Anthony Fantano here, internet's least busiest music nerd because I only review Blackpink albums. Blackpink's last album was 2 years ago. Today we're reviewing Blackpink's latest release, Born Pink, 8-song album, back from their military. We're gonna just go straight into it, track by track. I'm gonna tell you some of the things that I liked and also some of the things that I did not like. And this is gonna be a very brutally honest review. Twitter says I'm a Blackpink hater, but I'm not really a hater, but I will freely criticize music that I don't like. Let's get onto it. Okay, I brought my notes. First of all, before we go on track by track, I should point out that this album is actually divided into two, I feel, conceptually. The first half is mostly hip-hop, and then the rest of the album is more of their pink side, I think what they call it. I guess what's the other side? The black side? It sounds kind of racist. Starting off with the first song, which is Pink Venom. I'm sure you guys have already, heard a lot of reviews and opinions on Pink Venom. A lot of negative reviews online and people were disappointed when it released. Honestly, I was disappointed too. And we got to take into the context that this is their first album, first comeback as a group in 2 years, right? Almost. People had high expectations. And I'm gonna say, I'm still not really a fan of this track, but within the context of this album, I think it's a pretty damn banger of an opener. I mean, especially the rap in the second verse, which is probably the most hip-hoppy that Blackpink's ever gotten. It actually sounds great, right? I think I've already put out a lot of opinions on how, it could have been better. But just hearing this song as the opening track for an album just sounds great. It sets the tone. The first 3 songs are all gonna be hip-hop tracks. This is definitely a hip-hop track. Next we have Shutdown, which is the title track of this album. Now this is a breath of fresh air in Blackpink's discography. I did say that Pink Venom was the most hip-hop Blackpink's ever gotten, but I'm just gonna cancel that opinion and say actually this is the most hip-hop track that Blackpink's ever gotten, especially among their title tracks. This is the least melodic and most hip-hop centric among Blackpink's title tracks. And people will say Blackpink always makes the same songs, but go listen to their other title tracks. This is definitely different. My bit of criticism has to come from the use of samples. They use the sample of classical music I cannot pronounce the name of. It's very recognizable. Even David knows it. Everybody knows it apparently. I didn't know it. Maybe I'm dumb. Once you first hear it, you hear, oh, that's actually pretty nice. It does fit into the song. It gives this song like an old school vibe that you typically don't hear in Blackpink songs. But the problem is this 1-bar sample. It's literally 1 bar and it's used throughout the entire song. There's like 1 pitch change of the exact same sample. There's no variations of it. Quite literally, this is just a 1-bar sample repeated throughout almost the entirety of the song, except for I think the pre-chorus. I get that this is a good sample. I think, the way we've seen samples be used in hip-hop, especially of like the past decade or so, we've seen such creative uses of sampling, for example, Kanye. I feel like this is kind of like a lazy effort into using the sample. Maybe it is just an artistic choice. I guess everything is an artistic choice. But I feel like it could have been used in a more intuitive and more creative manner than simply repeating the same bar over and over again. Now that being said, because the beat is so simple and repetitive, it does put the focus on Blackpink's rap, Jennie and Lisa's. It's actually really good. They carry the entire song. And also it actually kind of reminds me of early to mid 2000s Korean hip hop, which actually utilized a lot of these kind of classical samples, especially these like 1-bar loops. Maybe they were doing a throwback to that kind of era, because if you look at Pink Venom, it's like a huge throwback to 90s hip hop. Some Biggie references, some G-Funk, or maybe even like Sotteji influences. Lots of callbacks to older generations of music here. I'm gonna say that despite not liking the 1-bar loop going over and over again, I still did enjoy this song. I think what would have made this song more enjoyable was if the song did not have an outro. Not every song needs an outro. If the song ended on the last chorus, that would have felt like, damn, they dropped the mic. But then they go on to another like 8 or 16 bars of outro. You know what that kind of feels like? Kind of feels like a YouTube end card section. Did we really need that? It kind of gives the song a little less oomph, but still a pretty nice track. Now the third track is Type of Girl. I'm the type of girl, 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 like I'm gonna say this is my second favorite track on this album. This track is the best representation of Blackpink's innate swag, just the aura that they have, the charisma, which is what I would say like holds a major share in Blackpink's success so far. Like their just innate ability to show their swagger. This song, like, you know, the message itself, I'm not like the other girls type of song. The message itself isn't anything like groundbreaking. It's literally in the lyrics, which is kind of funny. Musically and also just like in terms of their rapping skills, I really enjoy this. You know, the intro is very deceiving. You think it might be just like a ballad or something, and then it just drops into straight up hip-hop mode with hard edge synths that they slap. If there was a song that you would say slaps on this album, this is the song that slaps. And then there's the pre-chorus that takes the motifs from the intro and adds the variety in the song. It's pretty nice. The lead melody, like da 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 da, that's like stuck in my head. And their voices all sound phenomenal. I think this is like the best performance in this album for all the members except for maybe Rosé. Not saying that Rosé is bad on this track necessarily, but she has like the best performance in a track to come. I gotta say, Jisoo saying the type of girl that you want to take back to your mama house. The way she said it. I don't know, it just made me laugh. Overall, great track. Next track, Yeah Yeah Yeah. Now when I heard the intro, I was like, oh, this reminds me of G-Idol's Tomboy, not gonna lie. But then it straight up went to like a very straightforward 80s style pop anthem, which has been in the trend for the past few years in pop music. The first time Blackpink's tried something like this style, but we've heard this kind of music in K-pop and American pop. With that being said, I feel like we've heard a lot of like good 80s synth pop in pop music recently, but I don't know if Blackpink's Yeah 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 is necessarily groundbreaking or above average in terms of quality. It is fresh for them themselves, but is it like, you know, really good 80s synth pop? I don't think I could say that. Now, lyrically speaking, this is basically about like them finding this boy and they're going like, yeah, 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 I'm in love, something along those lines. And my personal biggest criticism of this song is the fade out in the outro. It feels very sudden. Out of all the chances that Blackpink had to cram in their yeah, yeah, yeah outro that they always do, the group chant, this song is literally titled Yeah Yeah Yeah. Why did you not include that outro? I mean, I get it, like I'm kind of tired of that outro too, but this would have been the perfect opportunity. But instead they went to a fade out, which I felt is quite sudden, kind of out of place. Next song is Hard to Love. 'Cause I'm hard to love, find it hard to trust when it feels too good, I just fuck it up. The best track on the album, in my opinion. And personally, I would say this is quite possibly one of the best tracks on Blackpink's discography, period. It's a funky pop rock style track. It's a Rosé solo track. I also like Rosé's On the Ground and Gone, but I would say this style of music really suits Rosé's voice very, very well, her singing style. I feel like this is a lot better than Gone or On the Ground, personally, in terms of my music taste. Also, I feel like this is the most lyrically vulnerable. I can totally relate. It's basically about talking about herself and how she hides her problems, then drives her partner into toxic relationships, which I feel like kind of marks the start of the second half of this album. I feel like it has an overlying theme. Now, musically speaking, the main synth melody and the chorus is just super addictive. I think this is like an overall very well produced track and the most thematically developed track in terms of lyrical content as well as just music itself. So very, very good. Hard to Love, definitely recommend. Next track is The Happiest Girl.
Tonight I'll be the happiest girl in the world. You'll see, like it doesn't matter.
We go from Hard to Love, which is a funky pop rock, to the most melodramatic Adele-esque ballad that you will ever hear in BLACKPINK's discography. This is like, you know, a 180 flip. You know, I'm a little bit divided in terms of like whether this song should have been on this album or not, or whether this fits or is out of place. But I definitely feel like thematically, this is a perfect continuation from Hard to Love. The Happiest Girl, the title is ironic. It's actually about a girl who is not happy at all. She's in a state of extreme misery and toxicity, tries to assure herself that she's actually feeling fine and she doesn't have to cry. She's not gonna cry. I can stop the tears if I want to, and I don't need a boyfriend. But then also indulging herself in alcohol to soothe the pain and just forget about her problems. Lyrically speaking, I feel like Hard to Love and The Happiest Girl have, you know, an actual story to it, which is very fun and interesting to listen to. This song is basically saying, I'm totally okay, but I'm not really okay, which I can totally relate to. So I feel you, BLACKPINK. You know, lyrically, I think this song is really good, and musically, I really like this track. But these lyrics kind of caught me off guard. All it takes is a little rolling paper to take us back to the start. Go back to the start. Does the rolling paper infer that they are smoking joints or blunts? No one rolls cigarettes in Korea. Well, no one really rolls anything. So I just thought that lyric was really funny. Okay, you're drinking away your problems. Oh, now you're rolling joints. Take your problems away. Wow. It's kind of caught me off guard. I can totally relate to. So I feel you. Next song is Tally.
I said fuck it when I feel it, 'cause no one's keeping tally. I do what I want with who I like.
I also kind of like this song. I generally like the second half. It's basically about, oh, like, I can do whatever the fuck I want with my body. No one gets to tell me what to do. They say fuck a lot of times, which I appreciate. If you're listening to the non-explicit versions that are up on YouTube, you're definitely missing out on this song. They censor the fucks and the shits, and it really takes away from the enjoyment of this song. So listen to it on the explicit version.
I say fuck it.
In terms of musical content, like I'm not like thinking that this is like a groundbreaking song overall, but it's just a fun song talking about fuckboys, how you don't get to judge me, go fuck off, I get to do whatever the fuck I want. I said a lot of fucks. BLACKPINK said a lot of fucks in this song. Last song, Ready for Love.
Here I am, I'm ready for love. Tell me when you're ready, 'cause I'm ready.
Okay, I'm gonna be the harshest critic here. This song probably should not have been on this album. It sounds like a song cut from possibly like their debut era. The chorus and the lead up to the chorus, the pre-chorus, it sounds very, very outdated. I know this is like a PUBG, you know, promotional track, and people are gonna say it's not like an official track. Well, it is an official track on the album now. It is an official track. Quite possibly the weakest track in BLACKPINK's entire discography, I would say. I don't know why they would choose to end this, in all honesty, quite nice of an album with a terrible track. Overall thoughts. I listened to this album about 30 times. Initially, I had some mixed opinions about it, but like after listening to it so many times and kind of like really indulging in the lyrics of it, because I never listened to BLACKPINK for the lyrics, obviously, but Like once you like really try to get into the concept and the themes behind these lyrics, I'm starting to like really like this album. I gotta say, like, Blackpink's not like breaking any new barriers in terms of musical experimentation with this album. They just made a good Blackpink album. Some people might be disappointed that it's just another Blackpink album. They're 6 years into their careers. Many people feel like, you know, at this point in their career, they should go experiment or expand their, you know, library in a more diverse way. But this album is mostly like just staying within their comfort zone. So I feel like if you're looking for something revolutionary,
Blackpink is the revolution.
I guess that lyric did not age too well. It's not revolutionary. But that being said, this is some very good, fun, easy listening pop music that I would say is becoming more and more rare in K-pop these days. We have the new trend, people like to call it noise music. K-pop is getting more complicated. This album, on the other hand, is very minimalistic, I would say, in terms of K-pop standards. A lot of the songs have very simple instrumentals that don't have a lot of elements. I would say this is actually a breath of fresh air in this soundscape that we have in K-pop right now. This is just simply a good, well-made pop album. If you go in, you know, thinking of just listening to easy listening pop, you'll get what you want. This isn't like Blackpink 2.0. This is Blackpink 1.5, an updated and upgraded version of what Blackpink's always been doing, and that is definitely not a bad thing. And the thing that makes me really dig this album is its thematic consistency. It's an actual album, not a compilation of tracks. The narrative feels like we're going on a journey of this girl, you know, going through her phases. So we have the first few tracks thinking that you're the shit, you're like the hottest girl in town. Then you meet a new boy, you're feeling love. But then you start realizing that you are actually a toxic piece of shit. Then you're saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna drink. And then you have the, you know, the whole face. And then you're now finally ready for another relationship, for the next victim to appear, to take your toxic ass into a relationship with Ready to Love. So that is kind of the narrative that I've built in my head. I might be delulu, but I feel like this is the theme of this album. Like, it's a concept album almost. It might not be the intention of the artists themselves, but thinking of this made this album much more enjoyable, because actually that is the story of my life right there. So I give this album a 4 out of 5. Legit my favorite Blackpink release so far, and maybe listening to it 30 times, that story just came up in my head. I formed that story and now I have an emotional connection to the music. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and tell me if you guys thought this concept and this theme was the main idea and narrative behind this album. And if you want me to do more reviews like these, please go support us on Patreon, patreon.com/DKDKTV. We do live streams every single week exclusively for our Patreon viewers, and they are very fun. We talk a lot about behind the scenes stuff and also our honest opinions. So until next time, bye bye.